Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Edward Pawley in an episode of Big Town. The role of Steve Wilson that Edward Pawley plays originated by Edward G. Robinson. Kind of seems appropriate that another Edward take the role. This episode of Big Town from February 22nd, 1949, entitled The Charity Killers. A couple of sweet little old ladies, don't you know?
Extra, extra, extra! Hear the Big Town story of the Charity Killers! Extra, extra, extra!
Miranda?
Yes, Bertha?
Lock him up in the storage room with Larson's body and let's get out of here.
And leave Mr. Wilson alive to identify us in Larson's murder?
They'll have to catch us first.
You're wasting time, Bertha. My press photographer has orders to notify the police. You better get going.
I'll say I'm going.
Oh, no, you're not. Tape up Wilson and splatter the place with kerosene.
Yes, listen to this dramatic Big Town story of two strange women racketeers brought to you by Lever Brothers Company, makers of Lifebuoy Health Soap. A story of fighting editor Steve Wilson of the Illustrated Press, whose newspaper creed stands for freedom and justice against the forces of intolerance and evil.
The power and the freedom of the press is a flaming sword, that it may be a faithful servant of all the people. Use it justly, hold it high, guard it well.
Now, Big Town, and tonight's racket expose headlined The Charity Killers. Each year, the great heart of America gives billions to alleviate the suffering of humanity. But into this golden river of generosity, racketeers dip greedy hands. And such is the background of Steve Wilson's story, which began in the parlor of a pretentious old brownstone mansion in a fashionable section of Big Town.
Bertha! Hurry with the tea. Mr. Larson is due any moment.
Stop squawking. Save the society act for that crook.
I have to get into my lines, into my charity act, don't I?
Yeah, but don't overdo it. Make the pitch for a fat contribution and then we'll take 'em, like a couple of Dannemora doves.
Bertha, I do wish you'd drop your prison slang. You've been out long enough this time.
And I'm not going back in. I'm getting too old for the Penn laundries. What's keeping that shop?
He'll be here. I promised him a large contribution to his sweet charity.
The dirty crook.
Save the professional jealousy and pour me a cup of tea.
Pour it yourself.
Very well. Where's the gin?
In the extra cream pitcher, where it always is when you put on this phony Whistler's Mother act.
Have you fixed the sugar?
Sure. The top lumps are soaked in enough stuff to knock Larson out for a week.
Good. There he is. Go let him in while I get out my knitting.
All right, but don't drop that gun out of your knitting bag like you did in Denver.
Oh, I won't. Oh, dear, I'm afraid I'm going to have to get rid of Bertha like I did my second husband. Now, let's see. Knit one, purl one. No, knit two, purl one.
Just a moment, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Mr. Lawson, calling on Mrs. Miranda Adams.
Oh, yes, Mr. Lawson. Madam Adams is expecting you. This way, please.
Who is it, Bertha, dear?
Mr. Lawson, ma'am.
Oh, yes. How do you do?
Good afternoon. Charmed to meet you, Mrs. Adams.
I hope the pleasure will be all mine. You may go, Bertha.
I'll go tend the furnace, ma'am.
I'll call you if I need you.
Very well, ma'am.
Are you two ladies alone in this big house?
Yes, quite alone. It's so difficult to get help these days, you know.
Yes. And now, about your contribution to the General Community Fund.
Oh, yes. Please sit down. Have a cup of tea?
Tea? Oh, yes, of course. Thank you.
I hope you brought your list of prominent contributors.
Oh, yes, I have them all right here. But this list is quite confidential. Most of our large contributors wish to remain anonymous. Don't want to get on the sucker list. I mean the list of unscrupulous fund collectors.
I understand. And I assure you the list will not leave my hands.
Oh, but I can't leave the list.
Very well. I'll have Bertha make a copy.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You wouldn't care to have me give out your name and the amount of your contribution, would you, Mrs. Adams?
Decidedly not.
No, of course. Now, and how large a donation did you have in mind?
Would 1,000...
1,000?
Oh, dear, your tea is getting cold. How many lumps of sugar?
Oh, no sugar, thank you. I'm putting on weight. Never touch the stuff. Well, 1,000 would be fine. Great help to the many worthy causes.
Oh, I'm sure it would. And a little sugar won't hurt you. It's energy building.
Yes, I know, but no thanks. I'll just take it as is while you make out your check.
No, let me... Oh, dear, I'm sorry. So clumsy of me. Bertha.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Don't bother.
Yes, ma'am. What's the trouble?
Mr. Larson won't take sugar in his tea.
Oh, he won't he?
What's the idea?
Sit down, Mr. Larson.
Hey, what's the idea of that gun, Mrs. Adams? Now, put it away. I didn't come here to rob you.
Yes, you did, you dirty crook.
Bertha, don't slight our profession.
This dope is a disgrace to any profession.
Hey, you two are cunt cookies. This is a plan. A scheme to get half a hold of my sucker list.
Exactly, Mr. Larson. Take that list, Bertha.
No, wait a minute. Listen. Let's make a deal. We can work this charity racket together. Why, we'd make a great team. Milk this town dry.
That's what we're gonna do. Without you.
Dear, you dented the teapot, Bertha.
Never mind the teapot. I think I've dented his head. What are we gonna do with him?
Drag him down in the cellar. Lock him up in the storage closet. We don't want him disturbing the neighbors while we work on his sucker list.
Wait a minute, Miranda. Maybe he ain't gonna disturb nobody.
Why not?
I think I cracked his skull. I think he's dead.
Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. My first husband went that way.
Hi, Steve. Why the general alarm for your wondrous girl reporter?
Oh, come in, Lorelei, and close the door on those infernal teletypes.
Uh-oh. Now what have I not done which should have been done, as Harry the Hack would be wont to say if he weren't down with a grip?
How would you like to impersonate the confidential secretary of a wealthy philanthropist?
Anything for a story. Who's the philanthropic gent?
Well, I'm going to impersonate him.
What are we going to play, charade?
Yes. I've had a tip, Lorelei. A couple of Larson's ladies have set up a fake charity racket in Big Town, and I want to get the goods on them before they make a mockery of one of man's finest impulses.
I'm all for that, but how?
Well, your suitcase is all packed and ready right there on the table.
The battery recorder. Where am I weekending?
You're just going to call on the ladies.
Well, how do I explain the disguised talk box?
You're on your way out of town and just stopped in to tell the ladies I'm calling to make a fat contribution.
Oh, why don't I just phone?
I'm very eccentric. I have to be humored.
Okay. Where'd you get this tip?
From our friend, Showboat.
Showboat, shades of Shakespeare. How did he spot these female charity racketeers?
Saw them on the street. They're lively ghosts out of his own colorful past, Lorelei.
Good heavens. Not out of trooping days aboard his Mississippi paddle wheel namesake.
Yes, one of the ladies. The other is a more modern version of feminine larceny.
That's a charming combination. Where?
That should be Showboat at the hall door. Let him in with
Or he'll knock the door off the hinges.
Hail and hello, Brother Wilson.
Hello, Showboat, come in.
Thank you. And the Lorelei, lovely lady of the linotype.
Hello, Showboat. I hear we're going on a charity racket safari.
Ah, yes. 'Tis been my good fortune to espy amongst humanity's flock 2 elderly female wolves in sheep clothing, preparing to pounce upon the innocent lambs in the name of sweet charity.
Yes. I've given Lorelei the setup and the fact, Showboat. She's ready to go.
Aye, but stay a moment, Miss Kilburn. Though these barges be cloaked with lavender and lace, and though they dwell in marble halls, they are as the scorpion whose sting is verily the kiss of death.
Thanks for the warning, Showboat. I'll be careful of them. Where is this marble hall?
A gloomy relic of the 90s, leased as a lair for the unsuspecting. A stage upon which these demon damosels weave their wanton web upon sweet charity's warp of woe.
A perfect setup. What's the address, Showboat?
Park is the street, and the number is 9.
Number 9 Park. What names are they using, Showboat?
My thespian contemporary, the Ophelia to my Hamlet, Lady Macbeth to my immortal Thane, the little Eva to my Uncle Tom. Once went by the name of Memphis Mary, shot one gambler husband and drowned another in the muddy waters of the Mississippi. Now, silver-haired and mild of mien, she plays her trade in the guise of Madame Miranda Adams.
Golly, Miranda Adams. Oh, who's her present partner?
Judicious inquiry reveals only the name of Bertha, a muscle-bound, matronly alumni of many of our better houses of correction.
Well, that'll be enough to work on, Showboat. How much time are you giving me to get their crooked charity pitch on the tape recorder, Steve?
10 minutes should be enough, Lorelei. Take Dusty and his camera, but have him wait outside until we arrive.
Well, good heavens, Steve. Madam Adams will surely recognize Showboat.
Exactly, Lorelei. And a recording of her reaction should be evidence enough to smash the racket and send the ladies to jail.
Thus, unaware that a vicious, fake charity racket has become a matter of murder, Steve unknowingly sends Lorelei into a deadly situation. And for the exciting developments, we'll return to Big Town in just a moment.
February 22nd, 1949, Big Town on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. That's me. Thank you for being with us. I appreciate you being there. And now more of Edward Pawley in Big Town. This episode from February 22nd, 1949.
Now back to Big Town and tonight's spine-chilling expose of a vicious racket captioned The Charity Killers. Following up a tip on two elderly women working a charity racket, Lorelei Kilburn arrives at their rented mansion, unaware that a murder has been committed.
Bertha, for heaven's sake, what a time to be out of kerosene.
How was I to know that crooked dope would be so stubborn and have a paper skull and we'd have to get rid of the body?
Are you quite sure he's dead?
Dead as a doornail.
Are you sure he'll fit into the furnace?
Yeah, I measured the door.
Then go down to the store and get a can of kerosene.
All right. This gallon can should do.
Oh, dear, I do hope he doesn't overheat the house.
Miranda, somebody's ringing the front doorbell.
My stars, whom could it be?
Maybe one of Lawson's charity racket pals come to find out what happened to him. What'll we do?
I'll go see, and if it is, simply say he never arrived.
What if they've been watching the house and no difference?
Then I'll invite them in with this gun.
All right, go ahead. I'll wait down here in the cellar with Lawson's body.
No need to do that. He won't go away. Go get the kerosene and hurry back.
Okay. I'll go out the cellar exit. Don't make any mistake.
I won't. Maybe you better get another gallon of kerosene, just in case.
All right. Get upstairs and answer that bell.
Do come into my parlor, my dear Miss Kilburn.
Thank you, Mrs. Adams. Mind if I put my weekend bag right here?
Not at all, my dear. And it's so kind of you to delay your vacation trip to prepare me for the arrival of your wonderfully philanthropic Mr. Wilson.
Yes, you may think it's strange his sending me ahead to get the facts about your charities, but my employer is quite eccentric.
I understand. And of course you want to know how the money is being spent, how many worthy causes are being helped, and the other prominent contributors in Big Town.
Yes, that would interest and impress Mr. Wilson.
Of course. Here is a partial list of our contributors and sponsors.
My, that's quite an impressive list.
What's the matter, Miss Kilburn?
Nothing.
But it must be. You're white as a ghost.
Oh, it's really nothing. I suddenly felt a little faint. It's rather warm in here.
Nonsense. The thermostat is set at 68 degrees.
Then it must be something I ate. I'm sorry. I'm afraid I'd better go.
No, my dear. It's something else. Something that has startled and upset you. Something you saw on the carpet.
Yes, Mrs. Adams. What happened here?
Whatever do you mean, my dear?
Who was hurt? Left that fresh stain on your carpet.
Oh, that.
Yes, that.
Oh, that isn't what you think. I had the most frightfully clumsy housekeeper. She spilled some catsup.
Catsup? For tea?
Yes, I just sent her out to get some cleaning fluid when you called. That's why I answered the door myself.
I see. And you're alone in the house?
Yes. And what do you see, Miss Kilburn? Just who are you and why are you here?
Well, I came to ask you a few questions about your charity fundraising activities,
But now you are no longer interested in sweet charity. Why not, my dear?
I have a feeling something much more important has happened here.
And I have a feeling you're not what you pretend to be. Give me your handbag, Miss Kilburn.
Uh-oh. That's a rather large gun for such a charitable little lady, Mrs. Adams.
Don't get up. Just give me your handbag.
Oh, save you the trouble of looking. I'm a newspaper reporter.
A reporter? Oh, dear.
Yes, I'm investigating a tip on your charity racket.
All alone? In the hope of getting a scoop for your newspaper, no doubt?
Not quite. Now, you better put away that gun or you'll be facing something much more serious than grand larceny, Mrs. Adams. If you aren't already.
My stars, you are curious, aren't you, Miss Kilburn?
It's a reporter's stock in trade.
Yes. Too bad.
How so?
Oh, dear me, I'm dreadfully afraid I'm going to have to take you down in the cellar and satisfy your feminine curiosity once and for all.
Is this the place, Showboat?
Aye, Mr. Wilson. Yon musty mausoleum is the lair of these lady leeches. Not that I myself am a model of civic virtue, nor above a little modest chicanery in pursuit of the almighty dollar.
Well, your tips have been very valuable, Showboat. Let's go in and see how this one pans out.
Hey, Steve, Showboat, just a minute.
Yes, what is it, Dusty?
Well, I don't know exactly, but something is from Denmark around here.
What, is Lorelei inside?
Yep. Little old lady let her in about 10 minutes ago.
What's worrying you, Dusty?
Well, just about the time the little old lady let Miss Kilburn in the front entrance, a buxom battle axe slid out the cellar exit, and she was carrying an empty can that she might fill with kerosene. She ought to be back any time now.
Well, in that case, I think we'd better change our plan of action, Showboat.
How so, Mr. Wilson?
You better wait here with Dusty, out of sight. I'll go in first, play my part, and then call you in for the showdown.
As you wish, Mr. Wilson. A climactic third act entrance is meet enough to test my thespian talents. Go set the stage. Prepare the downfall of these demons of deception.
I'll do my best. Meanwhile, keep out of sight in Dusty's car until I call you, Showboat.
Very well. I go to the wings to await my cue.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I wish to see the lady of the house, Madam Adams.
I am Madam Adams, sir.
Oh, I beg your pardon, Mrs. Adams.
Not at all. Ordinarily, I do not answer the door myself, but my housekeeper has gone to the store for some supplies.
I quite understand.
And what can I do for you, sir?
Well, I'm Stephen Wilson. Hasn't my confidential secretary arrived to acquaint you with the fact that I wish to make a sizable donation to the many worthwhile charities I understand you're sponsoring?
Why, no, Mr. Wilson. No one has called all afternoon.
No one called on you?
No one. Perhaps she was delayed and will arrive later. But no matter, for I think these things are much better discussed between the principals. Don't you think?
Yes, in this case, I think I do.
Then please come in, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you very much.
Forgive me for locking the door, Mr. Wilson. I have many valuables, and I understand the police are most lax in this neighborhood, and there are sneak thieves and footpads about.
So I hear.
Makes one nervous. But do come into my parlor. I was about to have tea. Won't you join me?
It will be a pleasure, Madam Adams.
Sit down, Mr. Wilson. You may find it a bit chilly, but my housekeeper will be back in a moment, and we'll have a lovely fire.
That will be nice.
You've no idea how cozy a nice fire will make this gloomy old place.
I can imagine.
Please sit down, Mr. Wilson. You seem restless, preoccupied. Have a cup of tea.
No, thank you. Let's get something else settled first.
Oh, your charitable contribution.
No, where is Miss Kilburn?
Miss Kilburn?
Yes, my so-called confidential secretary.
But I told you she hasn't arrived.
And you lied. Otherwise, you wouldn't have known my confidential secretary was a woman.
Oh, dear, that was a slip of the tongue, wasn't it, Mr. Wilson?
And not the only mistake you made. That weekend bag standing there with the cards belongs to Miss Kilburn.
Oh, dear, I'm getting careless, my old age.
All right, Mrs. Adams. let's stop playing games. You apparently know who I am, and I know who you are, and what you're doing in Big Town.
Very well, Mr. Wilson of the press. Like all newspaper persons, you're insatiably curious. And I'm frightfully afraid I'm going to have to gratify your wish to see Miss Kilburn.
Quit stalling. Where is she? What have you done to her?
What indeed? February 22nd, 1949, Big Town, and the case of the Charity Killers. Thank you so much for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We'll have the conclusion of Big Town, but first these important messages from your favorite radio station. Here's Mike Lindell talking about getting your best friend something special.
And Mike, you've done it again. You've brought us an amazing line of dog beds.
This has been a long time coming. It starts with the same patented fill for your dogs now as we do my pillow. I wanted everything covered in sizes from your largest dog to your smallest dog. You can throw them in the washer and dryer. The dogs love it. They asked, and here they are. This is why you get the dog bed. This is the main reason. The dogs love it.
And you've got that 10-year warranty, right?
I can do it because the dogs love it. They don't want to wreck their bed.
And you can get these MyPillow dog beds at a price lower than the big box stores, as low as $19.95. Call 1-800-928-4715, 1-800-928-4715, or go to mypillow.com/pet and use my promo code Wyatt. Treat your best friend to a MyPillow dog bed, mypillow.com/pet. Promo code Wyatt. Thanks for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. I am so happy you decided to make me a part of your day. Now the conclusion of Big Town, starring Edward Pawley, The Charity Killers, from February 22nd, 1949.
Merely satisfied her curiosity about a regrettable stain on our landlord's lovely rug there.
Stain, good grief.
Yes. Unfortunately, we had a gentleman caller just before Miss Kilburn arrived.
What happened?
He refused to allow us to muscle in on his charity racket, and Bertha, my impulsive housekeeper, was compelled to knock him cold and overdid it slightly.
Killed him?
Oh, yes, he's quite dead.
Where is Miss Kilburn?
Keeping company with Mr. Larson's body.
Are you fiendish, Holmes?
Just a moment, Mr. Wilson. Sticks and stones will break your bones, and this gun will kill you quite as dead as Mr. Larson.
Yes, that's a rather large gun for such a sweet, gentle little old lady.
Yes, so your Miss Kilburn said in those very words.
What have you done to her?
Just taped her up until Bertha gets back.
Where is she?
Down in the cellar. Go on, Mr. Wilson. Walk out into the hall and down the stairs. It's quite chilly up here. It'll be much warmer down with the furnace.
Now back to Big Town and to Steve Wilson and Lorelei, trapped in the basement of an old mansion in the deadly cover-up of the Charity Killers.
Keep away from Miss Kilburn, Mr. Wilson. I know how to use this gun.
So I understand from an old associate of your Mississippi showboat days.
My stars, that was 40 years ago. Who could it be?
An actor. And like your first husband, a gambler on the river. Showboat.
Showboat. That scene stealer. I would have thought some woman shot him years ago.
Unfortunately for you, he's right here in Big Town. It tipped me off to your fake charity racket.
What are you listening for? Expecting, Miss Wilson?
The return of your stupid companion who involved you in murder.
I've been involved in murder before.
But of your own volition. Not because of the blundering of a stupid associate.
Oh, yes, quite so. Bertha is rather stupid.
Who's stupid, you cackling old crow?
Crow, am I?
Yes. And who's this man and that girl laying over there, taped up like a mummy?
Newspaper persons.
What are they doing here?
Investigating your charity racket.
Oh, Miranda, you old fool. Why did you bring them down here and let them see Larson's body?
There was no help for it. And stop calling me a fool. I am old, but you're the fool. Put on that kerosene and tape up Mr. Wilson.
Stop giving orders. There isn't time. We gotta get out of here.
Nonsense. We've spent months lining up suckers. Checks are pouring in every day, and with Larson's list, we can make a real killing.
Don't be a complete dope. Those two didn't come along. There's a car out front, and the driver and somebody in it are watching this house like hawks.
Why didn't you say so right away?
You didn't give me a chance, but I'm telling you now. Let's lock them up in the storage room with Larson's body and get out of here.
And leave them alive to identify and testify against us in Larson's murder?
They'll have to catch us first.
You're wasting time, Bertha. Those men out there in the car have orders to notify the police, and you'd better get going.
I'll say I'm going.
Oh, no, you're not, Bertha. Tape up Wilson and splatter the place with kerosene.
I'm not wasting any more...
That'll be all out of that gun, Madam Adams. Oh, hold still. I hate to manhandle a woman, even a murderess. Now, hold still. Stop struggling.
Oh, dear, very well. Unhand me, sir.
As soon as I make sure you haven't another gun in this knitting bag.
Hey, Steve, what cooks? What goes on here? What gives?
Just Dusty, just get the tape on Miss Kilburn. And then shoot a few pictures for the front page.
Right. Okay, now hold everything, Lorelei. I'll have you undone in a jiffy.
Forsooth, what transpires in this dungeon of dark deeds?
Well, if it isn't Showboat, the greatest voice in Saldini.
Ah, the Memphis Belle, Milady of the Hemlock, the Dagger, and the One-Night Stand.
Shut up, you windy old walrus.
Ah, time hath touched thy hair with silver, but tip thy tongue with acid, Miranda.
Oh, be quiet, Showboat. You haven't changed a bit.
Yes, hold the reminiscences, Showboat. Are you all right, Lorelei?
Oh, a little bruised and mortified, but otherwise okay, Steve.
Good. Go upstairs and call Fletch on city desk. Give him the story. And call Callahan of homicide.
In tonight's big town expose of the fake charity racketeers, the murderess Miranda was tried, convicted, and imprisoned for the rest of her unnatural life. And next week, the makers of Lifebuoy bring you a hard-hitting story entitled The Fatal Joke, the strange story of a gangster's revenge after death. Another exciting assignment in the newspaper career of fighting Steve Wilson of Big Town. Don't miss it. In tonight's dramatization, all names, times, and places are fictional. Big Town features Edward Pawley as Steve Wilson, Fran Carlin as Lorelei Kilburn, and was written and produced by Jerry McGill. This is Brotherhood Week. At a time when it is vitally important that all Americans stand united, let us recall the American principles of tolerance and understanding toward one another, and let us practice those principles throughout the year. Next Tuesday night, same time, same station, you'll hear the newsboy calling...
Extra, hear all about it. The story of Steve Wilson and a fateful joke. Brought to you by the makers of Lifebuoy Health Soap. Extra.
February 22nd, 1949, Big Town on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We'll head to Pine Ridge, Arkansas next. Okay, quick explanation as to what's going on in this episode of Lum-and-Abner. By the way, this is Wyatt Cox, and this is Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Lum-and-Abner, in the early days of radio, in fact, much of radio, they would offer premiums. And the main reason they offered premiums was so that the sponsors of the show would have a good idea of the real listening audience, not just what the rating services said. That's why we always ask for letters to the station and the advertisers, because ratings don't always mean a whole lot. And I'll probably get somebody in trouble for saying all this. But anyway, so they were offering flashlights. If you sent a vote in for either Lum or Abner with a copy of the label of Horlick's malted milk, and your name and address on the back, and they would send you one of these little bitty penlight flashlights from Lum-and-Abner. That's the scene of this episode of Lum-and-Abner from February 22nd, 1935.
Well, Abner and his campaign manager, Squire Skimp, had a falling out yesterday. He discovered that Squire had used the money from the insurance company to make a donation to the public library at the county seat, and has written a letter to the library demanding the money back so that he can return it to the insurance company. The newspaper has come out with a very caustic story about it today, criticizing Abner severely. As we look in on Pine Ridge today, we find Dick Huddleston over at the Jot 'em Down store, showing Lum a story that appeared in today's paper. Listen.
Well, I do know. Well, I hate to see him print an article like that about Abner.
Well, I don't know, Lum. You can't blame them much, you know. Somebody make a donation that way just for the publicity, and after he gets a nice write-up in the paper, why, ask for his money back.
Well, Abner couldn't do nothing else, so he had to get it back. You know that check the insurance company gave Abner for $200 on that accident plane?
Yeah, I thought you sent it back to him.
Well, we was going to. Abner gave it to Squire Skimp to take into the county seat to get it cashed so he could send the money instead of the check back to them.
Yeah.
And while he's in town, there, Squire made that donate to the library for Abner. Figured it'd help him in his campaign for president of the store here.
Oh, that's where that money come from, huh?
Yeah, Squire just taking it on himself to give him $180 on it. And tried to keep the other $20 for himself. But we got him down in here yesterday and taken it away from him.
He did?
Yeah, he stood there and said he never had a cent on him. I guess we throwed him down and reached in his pocket and pulled out a roll of bills there that'd choke a cow.
Well, good for you, Lum. I'm glad to hear it.
Oh, he got mad, just frothed at the mouth. Stomped out of here mad enough to bite.
Well, he's out again today, electioneering for Abner. He's down at the store this morning, telling a big bunch of them in there to be sure and vote for Abner.
Well, yeah, he's still trying to get Abner elected, all right. You see, he's got a contract with Abner that says if he's elected president of the store here, Squire gets 10% of everything Abner makes.
Oh, and if Abner ain't elected, why, he don't get nothing, huh?
No.
Well, how long does that contract run, Lum, this 10% business?
Well, now, there's another thing. There ain't no limit set on it. Just runs as long as Squire wants it to, I reckon.
Mm-hmm.
See, Abner was so anxious to get to be president, he'd have signed anything.
Why, sure. When does this contest close?
Sunday night. Sunday night at midnight. When we open up for business Monday morning, we'll know then who's going to be the president.
Yeah.
And it looks like Abner's going to be it, the way these votes have been coming in today. He's 780-some-odd votes ahead of me now.
Yeah. Well, I imagine, old Lum, people in there at the county seat will all be voting for you now since this article come out in the paper today. That'll swing all the votes to your side.
Yeah, I sort of hate that, too. Hate to see him turn against Abner when he's trying to do the honest thing. I can't help but feel just sort of sorrowful for him.
Well, it'd be a blessing if he was to get beaten, Lum. He wouldn't have to pay his Squire that 10% the rest of his life.
Yeah, but he'd be terrible disappointed, Dick. He wants to be president so bad.
Yeah, I know he does.
I come right now withdrawing from the race yesterday and just letting Abner have the office, but I got to thinking he'd be sure to win that way, and Squire'd claim 10% of everything he makes. So
yeah.
I just decided to let it work itself out the best way it would.
Yeah, well, you're in kind of a bad spot there, Lum, either way you turn.
Yeah, sort of twitched a hard place in the wrong. Well, this contest has showed me one thing. Showed me where I stand at. Sort of took me down a notch or two, I reckon. You know, I thought when we started this thing, it'd be a runaway for me. I never figured Abner'd get any votes at all.
Well, he's led the race nearly all the way through, though, hasn't he?
Yeah, except for 2 or 3 days there. But I ain't complaining none. You see, the folks that sent in for the flashlights, the ones that's done the voting in this thing, has been responsible for us getting our store stocked up again. We can just thank them for that.
Yeah, you've got a nice stock of merchandise there now, Lum. Looks mighty nice, too.
Yeah, I thought so. Me and Cedric's been busy all week arranging it on the shelves and all.
That's looking fine. Nice, clean stock of merchandise.
I can't hardly wait till Monday to get opened up for business. Regardless of which one of us gets elected, we've got a fresh start in the store business.
Well, that's a good idea you had, getting that agency for those flashlights. And it was mighty nice of Mr. Harlick to offer to send them out to your friends, too.
Oh, yeah, it sure was. I just hate it because we can't get them made any faster, though. They're running that flashlight factory day and night now, making them just fast as they can, but it's going to be a little time yet before some of them gets them.
Well, you told them on the party line the other day that there'd be some delay, so I don't think you'll have any complaints over it.
I hope not.
Well, you can't help it, Lum. You fellers are doing all you can, and Horlicks are doing all they can.
Yeah, there's another thing. I hate it on Mr. Horlick's account, too. He's worried about it, you know. You see, we never had no idea we'd get so many requests for him.
Well, I thought you wanted all you can get.
Oh, we do. Yeah, sure we do. Mr. Horlick is plumb tickled over it. Yeah. I'm sort of glad it happened right at this time, too, Dick. Yeah. You know, tomorrow's Mr. Horlick's birthday, you know.
Oh, it is? Tomorrow?
Yeah. He'll be 89-year-old tomorrow.
Well.
89 and still active head of his business that he started over 50 years ago.
Well, now, Brian George, that's quite a record, you know. Yeah, that's a good testimonial for his malted milk right there.
Yeah. I was just saying that... wait a minute. Here comes Abner.
Yeah. Well, he's not wearing that derby hat and striped vest today, is he?
Oh, no. He give them back to Squire here yesterday and told him he was through. Done with it. Don't let on that I ain't trying to get elected nowadays, because if I was to win, I won't Abner think it's because I'm campaigning so hard to done it.
Oh, yeah, sure. No, I wouldn't say nothing.
I want him to think I'm trying my best.
Well, howdy, fellas.
Yeah, come in, Abner. I got some good news for you.
What's that?
Why, I counted the votes a while ago, and you're 784-5 ahead of me now.
Oh, howdy, Dick. How are you today?
Well, all right, I reckon, Abner. Did you see that story in the paper about you today?
No, ain't saw it. Somebody was telling me about it.
Well, they're mad because you asked for that donate back that you give the library in there.
Well, I figured they would be.
They claimed you never aimed to let them keep it in the first place when you give it to them. Said you're just doing it to get votes.
Well, just so that I get the money back. That's all I care about.
You get beat, you can just blame it on to that, Abner. I'll carry the county seat by 10-1 now, bound you.
Yeah, you're going to have to get out here and work hard tomorrow, Abner, if this contest closes Sunday night.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's just what I want to talk to you fellas about. Just might not decided to just take plumb out of the race.
Take out of it?
Yeah, just get out.
You ain't give up, have you?
No, I ain't give up, but I just got to figuring that if I do get elected, I'm going to have to give Squire Skimp 10 cents or 10% on everything.
Well, now, I wouldn't let that influence me. If I get elected, I don't want you to think that you just give me the office. If I get it, I want to win it fair and square.
Well, I'd love to have it the worst way, but I don't know. I just hate to see old Squire make anything off of it after the way he's done.
Yeah.
Well, now, I wouldn't withdraw, Abner. No, all these people have voted for you. Your friends, you know. Why, you wouldn't want to turn them down right here at the last minute.
Why, of course not. You get that office. We'll study up some way out of that contract with Squire Skimp.
How?
Well, I don't know. Just offhand, we'll study up something.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I'm afraid that contract would be hard to break, Ron.
No, tut, don't you worry, Abner. I'll thumb through the statutes and find something in there.
Well, I was talking to Squire a while ago, and he said that there ain't no way out of it. Said he got me.
Where was Squire at?
Well, he's over about the blacksmith shop a while ago. I don't know where he's at now. He's working harder than ever to get me elected.
What do you say, Lon? We go over and talk to old Squire about that.
You just taking the words right out of my mouth, Dick. Must have read my mind. Get your hat there.
Well, I don't think it'll do a bit of good, man. I done talked to him, and he won't listen.
Well, it ain't going to hurt nothing to try. Come on, Dick. I'll be back after a little, Abner.
Yeah, I'll see you later, Abner.
Yeah.
Yeah? All right. I can tell you right now, you're just wasting your time, all. That blamed old skin flint. I just hate that Squire Skimp to pieces. I dogged I hate to do it, but there ain't no other way around it. I just got to do it. That's all there are to it. Hello? This is Abner Peabody talking. I got a little announcement to make about myself. I'm in a batch of trouble here. I appreciate all the votes that you folks sent in for me, but now then, I've just got to keep from getting elected some way or other. For if I do, Squire Skimp's going to get 10% of everything I make from here out. I don't want to withdraw from the race, but I want Lum to get the office. The way things stands now, I'm nearly 800 votes ahead, so for goodness sake, send in a vote for Lum and get it in the mail before Sunday night. This is the first time that I ever got out and campaigned again myself, but it's the only way I know to beat Squire Skimp. So if you want to help me do it, why, send in a vote for Lum. But now, don't none of you let on to Lum, but I told you to do that now. Well, I'll be looking for a letter from you. Thank you.
Well, that sounds odd, but if you want to help Abner, send in a vote for Lum.
Flipping the script, if you will. Trying to take the dive, and if you thought that was a recent thing, no, this goes back February 22nd, 1935. Lum-and-Abner were doing it over 80 years ago. Lum-and-Abner here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Only a madman or a fool would intentionally set fire to one of our forests or woodlands. Yet 90% of our forest fires are started by people. Most of these man-caused fires are due to plain carelessness. A campfire left smoldering, a lighted match thrown from a car window, a cigarette not extinguished. In less troubled times, the waste due to forest fires would be tragic. In these dangerous times, it can be disastrous. Forest fires destroy natural resources we need to keep our country strong. They impede the production and transportation of critical defense supplies, interfere with military training, and may destroy military installations. Join in the fight against carelessness. Crush out cigarettes, cigar, and pipe ashes. Break matches in two after using. Drown all campfires, then stir and drown again. Find out the law before using a fire. One moment of carelessness can destroy national beauty and wealth that can never be replaced. Forest fires are a shameful waste because they can be prevented. Remember, only you can prevent forest fires.
Hey, thanks again for listening to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox here on your favorite station. I want to reiterate what I mentioned earlier, that your input to this radio station and to the advertisers really makes a lot of difference. Support the advertisers when you can. Drop a card or a letter to this radio station. You would be surprised the impact. I've had listeners say when they sent a letter to the station, they were shocked. The station was shocked because they don't always get letters of appreciation. If you like what you hear here, let the station know. It means more to them than you could possibly imagine. It also means a lot to me when you drop me a card or a letter. You can get my address through our webpage, which is classicradio.stream. That's classicradio.stream. You can also stream our shows on demand there, and you can learn more about building a classic radio collection of your own. They're really nice to have, particularly when you go traveling, if you do. classicradio.stream. And if you miss a day, you don't have to miss a single show, a single episode, a single anything, because you can find us on iHeartRadio and Spotify, Spreaker, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, even through Amazon Music or Audible. All you have to do is search for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. See, that's why I say that all the time. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the radio dial. Classic Radio Theater right here on your favorite radio station.